na po ang pinakahihintay na araw ng halalan sa Estados Unidos.
Sabay-sabay nating tunghayan ang mga ulat ng NET25 US News Bureau live para sa ibang mga detalye ng halalan. Ibabahagi ko natin yan maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Ricky Mathay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alagaw Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong Martes ng gabi.
October inflation rate ng Pilipinas pumalo sa 2.3% batay sa datos ng Philippine Statistics Authority.
Tropical Storm Marce nasa typhoon category na ayon sa pag-asa.
South Korea at European Union kapwa na nawagan sa withdrawal ng North Korean troops sa Russia.
Ating tunghayan ang mga huling hirit ni na former US President Donald Trump at Vice President Kamala Harris sa kanilang pangangampanya.
At empleyado ng Boeing tatanggap ng 68% na dagdag sa kanilang sahod. Sa 2.3% ang naitalang headline inflation ng Pilipinas noong buwan ng Oktubre. Ayon po yan sa ulat ng Philippine Statistics Authority o PSA.
Sinabi ni National Statistician Dennis Mapa, mas mataas ito sa naitalang inflation rate noong buwan ng Setyembre na 1.9%. Mas mababa naman ito kung ikukumpara sa naitalang inflation rate noong October 2023 na 4.9%. Ayon kay Mapa, ang pangunahing nakaimpluwensya sa inflation rate noong October ay ang pagtaas ng presyo ng food at non-alcoholic beverages. Samantala, tiwala ang National Economic and Development Authority o NEDA at ang Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas na mananatiling nasa loob ng target range ng gobyerno ang inflation rate ng bansa ngayong taon.
Samantala, tiwala ang Center for Strategic and International Studies o CSIS na magpapatuloy ang pagpasok ng mga investment sa Pilipinas mula sa Estados Unidos kahit sino man ang manalong Pangulo sa 2024 US elections. Ayon sa US-based think tank, kahit nakadepende ang Republican at Democratic Party sa polisiyang nakatuon para protektahan ang interes ng Estados Unidos, kumpiyansa ang ahensya na tuloy-tuloy ang pagbuhos ng pera galing sa pribadong kumpanya ng US sa Southeast Asian countries kasama na rito ang Pilipinas. Naniniwala naman ang think tank na kung mananalo si Vice President Kamala Harris bilang Pangulo ay mas madali umano ang pagtiyak ng bahagi ang Pilipinas sa Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Habang malabo raw ito sa panig naman ni Trump, subalit may tsansa pa rin ang Pilipinas sa pagbuo ng bilateral relationship ng Estados Unidos. Samantala, inirekomenda naman ng CSIS na may pagpapatuloy ang person-to-person exchanges at mga investment events para mapalawig pa ang US investment opportunities sa Pilipinas.
Isa ng typhoon ang Tropical Storm Marce ayon sa monitoring ng pag-asa. Ayon sa datos ng State Weather Bureau, namataan ang mata ng bagyo 480 kilometers ng silangang bahagi ni Agila, Isabela, bandang alas 4 ng hapon. Gumagalaw ito sa direksyon pahilagang kanluran sa bilis na 25 kilometers per hour na may lakas na 130 kilometers per hour at bugsong 160 kilometers per hour. Habang tinatahak ng bagyong Marce ang Northern Luzon, ay itinaas ng pag-asa ang Tropical Cyclone Wind Signal number 1 sa Batanes, Cagayan, Babuyan Islands, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, Apayao, Kalinga, Mountain Province, Ifugao, northern portion ng Benguet sa Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino at northern portion ng Aurora.
Plano ng Department of Education o DepEd na magpatupad ng mga catch-up classes tuwing Sabado o night shifts upang mabawi ang mga nasuspending klase dulot ng mga bagyo. Binigyan diin ni Education Secretary Sonny Angara ang kahalagahan ng makeup classes upang maiwasan umano ang tinatawag niyang learning loss. Umabot sa 26 na araw ang pinakamataas na bilang ng mga araw ng suspensyon ng klase dahil sa Super Typhoon Julian, Leon at Severe Tropical Storm Christine. Batay sa pinakabagong ulat ng ahensya, mahigit 20 milyong mag-aaral mula sa mahigit 42,000 paaralan ang naaapektuhan ng suspension of classes.
Naitala ng Department of Health o DOH na tumaas ng higit sa 90% ang kaso ng leptospirosis sa Metro Manila. Batay sa monitoring ng DOH Metro Manila Center for Health Development mula January 1 hanggang October 26, 2024, nakapagtala ng 2,734 na cases ng leptospirosis sa Maynila. Samantala, 216 naman ang nasawi dahil sa sakit na ito. Karamihan sa mga lepto cases na naitalay sa Quezon City kung saan umabot ito sa 655 leptospirosis cases habang ang Malabon naman ang may pinakamataas na attack rate. Ang attack rate ay kumakatawan sa porsyento ng mga tao sa isang tiyak na lugar na nagkasakit. Sa kabila ng pagtaas ng kaso ng leptospirosis sa Metro Manila ay tinukoy ng ahensya na hindi pa naman naabot ng rehiyon ang epidemic alert threshold. Subalit paalala pa rin ng DOH kung lulusong sa baha ay agad na kumonsulta sa doktor o health center para sa prophylaxis. Ang leptospirosis ay nakukuha mula sa ihi ng daga at iba pang hayop na infected ng leptospirobacteria na humalo sa tubig baha.
Ipinahayag ng Philippine National Police o PNP na nakakumpiska ito ng halos 78 milyong pisong halaga ng droga nitong buwan ng Oktubre. Ayon kay PNP Drug Enforcement Group Chief Brigadier General Elizar Mata, nakuha mga droga sa 71 operations na isinagawa ng kanilang grupo. Nagdulot din ito ng pagkakaaresto sa 80 drug suspects at pagkakumpiska ng mga shabu, marijuana at iba pang uri ng droga. Binigyan din ni General Mata na ang kanilang mga drug raid operations ay patunay lamang na matibay ang paninindigan ng Administrasyong Marcos laban sa mga iligal na droga sa Pilipinas.
Natukoy na ng Philippine National Police Regional Office 9 ang dalawa pang sospek na kabilang sa kumidnap sa American vlogger na si Elliot Eastman. Sa tulong na rin ito ng mga impormasyon, suspect profiling at ebidensyang ibinigay ng mga testigo sa pulisya. Ayon kay PRO9 spokesperson Lieutenant General Helen Galvez, naisampa na ang supplemental case laban sa dalawang suspect na may direktang partisipasyon sa pagdukot kay Eastman. Tumanggi rin muna ang pulisya na ilabas sa media ang pangalan ng dalawang suspect habang hinahanap pa rin nila si Eastman. Dati nang ibinalita na pinakasalan ni Eastman ang isang Pilipina sa Cebuco, Zamboanga del Norte. 5 buwan pa lamang itong naninirahan sa Pilipinas nang puwersahan siyang dinukot noong October 17 sa bahay ng kanyang biyenan. Sa ngayon ay nasa 8 sospek na ang tinitingnan ng mga pulis na may kinalaman sa pagkidnap kay Eastman. Ang ilan sa mga ito ay nasa kustodiya na ng mga pulis habang ang iba ay tinutugis pa. Nag-alok din ang lokal na pamahalaan ng Cebuco ng 500,000 pesos na cash reward para sa anumang impormasyon na maghahatid sa pagkakasagip kay Eastman at sa pag-aresto sa iba pang mga sospek.
Present si dismissed Banban Tarlac Mayor Alice Go sa pagdinig ng Department of Justice o DOJ para sa mga kaso niyang perjury at falsification of notary. Ayon sa NBI, palsitipikado ang kontrasalaysay na ipinasa ni Ko sa DOJ. Anila napatunayan na nakaalis na ng Pilipinas si Go nang isumite ng kampo nito ang counter affidavit na sinasabing personal na pinanumpaan ni Ko sa harap ng isang notary public. Sinabi pa ng NBI na kumpirma rin na ibang tao o hindi lagda ni Ko ang nasa kontrasalaysay. Depensa naman ang abogado ni Ko na si Attorney Stephen David na dapat ay ibasura ang reklamo laban sa dismissed mayor. Anya, walang aktual na partisipasyon sa pamemeke ng notaryo si Ko dahil wala na ito sa Pilipinas nang nangyari ito. Subalit giit naman ni Attorney David, pinirmahan ni Ko ang salaysay nito bago pa makaalis ng bansa. Kung meron man anyang dapat managot sa kasong perjury at falsification of notary, ay ang abogado na pumayag na inotaryo ang dokumento nang hindi kaharap si Ko.
depensa namin na hindi naman siya dapat makasuhan ng falsification, diba? Perjury. Una-una, wala man siya dito eh. Anong participation niya doon sa notarization na yun? Oo, pero hindi naman porke inutusan mo, yun na yung kaso mo doon, di ba? Kasi ang kailangan dyan, yung act talaga na nag-falsify ka ng notarization mo. Siya naman ang pumirma doon. Pre-signed kasi yan. So wala akong nakikita ng falsification doon kasi siya naman ang pumirma doon. Ngayon, kung sino yung nagnotaryo, dapat yun ang tanungin natin.
Susunod, South Korea at European Union nanawagan para sa withdrawal ng North Korean troops sa Russia.
United Nations na babahala sa limitadong pagpasok ng humanitarian aid sa Gaza.
At pagtatapos ang kampanya ni na Donald Trump at Kamala Harris sa ilang swing states, ating subaybayan. Mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik na mata ng Agila International.
Why choose Supreme Pure Organic Barley? It is 100% pure organic barley straight from Australia. Certified super brands. The first alkaline-based barley in the Philippines. High pH level, 7.9 alkaline level, 68 micronutrients, non-acidic. It helps boost immune system, improves digestion, high in antioxidants, regulates blood sugar level and cholesterol. Waglan Basta Barley. Dapat alkaline-based Supreme Pure Organic Barley.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka nang mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Nais ng China ang pagandahin ang kanilang free trade zones at pumasok sa iba't ibang investment agreements sa ibang bansa. Sa kanyang talumpati para buksan ang China International Import Expo ay sinabi niyang nais palawakin ng China ang pagpasok ng foreign investment sa mga sektor katulad ng telecommunications at healthcare. Sinabi rin niya na panatag ang mga otoridad na makakamit ng kanilang bansa ang kanilang target growth sa aspeto ng ekonomiya at pananalapi. Humina ng todo ang imports ng China ngayong taon dahil sa mahinang local demand at ang kanilang nararanasan na krisis sa property market. Ang tumataas na tensyon nila ng Estados Unidos at Europa ay nakaaapekto rin sa kanilang pakikipagkalakalan.
Inanunsyo ng Australia at India na may kumpiyansa sila magpapatuloy ang pagkakaisa ng Quad Group sa Indo-Pacific anuman ang kalabasan ng halalan sa Estados Unidos. Ang Quad ay binubuo ng Australia, India, Japan at Estados Unidos bilang tugon sa lumalaking ekonomiya at puwersa militar ng China sa mga nakalipas na taon. Sinabi ni Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong na nakipagpulong siya kay Mike Pompeo, dating Secretary of State sa ilalim ng Trump administration. Isa sa kanilang napag-usapan ang AUKUS, partikular na sa pagbibigay ng US at UK na nuclear-powered submarine technology sa Australia. Samantala, binigyan din naman ni Indian Foreign Minister Subrahmanyam Jaishankar na anuman ang resulta ng halalan, patuloy na lalalim ang relasyon ng New Delhi at ng Washington.
Kinundina ng South Korea at European Union ang North Korea matapos magpadala nito ng mga sundalo at armas para suportahan ang Russia sa pakikidigma nito sa Ukraine. Sa unang strategic dialogue meeting sa Seoul ay binanggit ni EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell at South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yul na isang unlawful military cooperation ang pagsuporta ng North Korea sa Russia. Hinimok din ni Borrell at Cho ang Pyongyang na pauwiin ang mga sundalong ipinadala nito sa Russia. Kaugnay nito ay nagkasundo ang EU chief at South Korean official na lagdaan ang isang security at defense partnership. Tinalakay ng dalawang panig ang posibilidad na magpadala ng armas ang South Korea sa Ukraine. Ngunit nilinaw ni Minister Cho na wala pang konkretong plano ukol dito, anya ay sinisiyasat pa ng Seoul ang mga posibleng gagawin nila upang tumugon sa nasabing sitwasyon.
Ipinaliwanag ni Kim Yo-jong, kapatid na babae ni North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, na makatwiran ang pagpapalakas ng nuclear weapons sa Pyongyang dahil sa isinasagawang military drills ng Japan, South Korea at Estados Unidos. Pinuna ni Kim ang pinakabagong air drill ng tatlong bansa, pati na rin ang mahigit 20 iba pang military exercises na inilunsad ng mga ito ngayong taon. Anya, dahil sa mga ganitong banta, wala silang magagawa kundi palakasin ang kanilang nuclear deterrent. Ang nuclear deterrent po ay isang military doctrine na nakabatay sa paggamit ng nuclear weapons upang pigilan ang pag-atake ng ibang estado sa isang bansa o teritoryo. Layon nitong mapanatili ang status quo at maiwasan ang nuclear aggression sa pamamagitan ng pagpapaalala sa mga estado sa posibleng kahihinatnan na haharapin nila kung pipiliin nilang atakihin ang ibang mga bansa.
Ibinunyag ni Andriy Kovalenko, isang top official ng Ukraine, na pinaputukan nila ng mga bala ang mga sundalo ng North Korea na nagbabantay sa border ng Kursk, Russia. Ayon sa mga political analysts, kung totoo ang sinabi ni Kovalenko, ay ito ang unang pagkakataon na lumuhok ang isang foreign army sa digmaang Russia-Ukraine. Posible nila na maging sanhi ito ng paglaki o paglawak ng gulo sa Europa na tinatawag na nga ng ibang experts na largest land war in Europe since the Second World War. Samantala, hindi kinukumpirma o itinatanggi ng Russia o North Korea na may sundalo nga ng Pyongyang sa Russia. Ngunit nang tanungin ng isang taga-media si Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov kung totoo ang sinabi ng Estados Unidos na may pinadalang 10,000 sundalo ang North Korea sa Russia, ay naging maingat ito sa kanyang tugon. Anya, walang final confirmation ng Estados Unidos tungkol sa nasabing impormasyon.
США говорят, что около 10 тысяч северокорейских военнослужащих находятся в России и готовы участвовать в боях в Курской области. Можете это подтвердить?
Да, вы знаете, я не буду ничего говорить на эту тему, потому что Соединенные Штаты, все представители США, которые об этом говорят, они к этим утверждениям всегда добавляют фразу, что вместе с тем окончательных подтверждений американская сторона не имеет. Это не наши слова, это слова представителей США, которые об этом говорят.
Ikinabahala ng United Nations ang pagkakaroon ng limitadong humanitarian access sa Gaza dahil sa patuloy na kaguluhan. Ayon sa United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, nalimitahang ang pagpasok ng mga humanitarian aid sa Gaza. Sa ngayon, limitado lamang ang pagpasok ng nasabi mga tulong sa mga lugar na Jabalia, Bitlahiya at Bitlano Hanun. Dahil dito ay maraming mga residente ng Gaza ang mahihirapan ngayon na makakuha ng mga pagkain at mga gamot. Sa kabila naman ito ay formal ng inabisuhan ng Israel ang United Nations ukol sa intensyon nitong buwagin ang kasunduan nila ng United Relief Organization for Palestinian Refugees o UNRWA. May 3 buwan pa bago formal na pagbawalan ng Israel ang UNRWA ngunit nagpadala na ng liham si Israeli Ambassador to the UN Danny Danon kay UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres at sa Presidente ng General Assembly na nais nang umatras ng Israel sa 1967 Cooperation Agreement.
We've seen the letter addressed to the President of the General Assembly. I mean, our position is unchanged, right? For the Secretary General, he continues to believe that the work of UNRWA is performing in the occupied Palestinian territory is essential and that there is no alternative to UNRWA as we see it. If the law is fully implemented, right, and Israel makes it impossible for UNRWA to continue to operate in those areas, notably, I mean, and reminder that it's not just humanitarian, it's education, it's healthcare. They will have, this will not have, if the law is fully implemented and UNRWA makes it the Israeli government makes it impossible for UNRWA to operate, this will have no effect on Israel's responsibility to provide for the population, and any failure to provide the necessary support to the population will be Israel's responsibility. We're obviously, our lawyers and UNRWA's lawyers are also taking a closer look at the letter.
Nakipagpulong si United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken kay Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant kung saan umapela ito na taasan ng tulong na ibinibigay sa mga tao sa Gaza.
We have serious concerns about the implications of it being fully implemented, as well as our concerns about the underlying humanitarian situation in Gaza even before Israel passed this legislation that relates to the inability of a sufficient number of trucks to get into Gaza and the inability of humanitarian workers for a variety of reasons to be able to deliver that aid to places inside Gaza, to the people that need it. So we have been engaged with the government of Israel on this since long before we sent the letter, but really about a number of steps that we think they need to take since the Secretary and Secretary of Defense Austin sent that letter on October 14th. The Secretary talked to the Minister of Strategic Affairs on Friday, Ron Dermer, about that, where we stand. I expect that he will talk to further Israeli officials later today about what steps they have already taken, what more they can do.
Noong Oktubre 13, pinadala ng White House ng liham ang Israel na nagsasaad na bibigyan ng US ang Israel ng pagkakataon na paggandahin ang estado ng buhay ng mga mamamayan ng Palestine na halos 1 taon nang naaapektuhan ng digmaan ng Israel sa Gaza. Ayon sa ibang opisyal ng United Nations, patuloy na lumalala ang kondisyon ng mga tao roon na nagdudulot sa kawalan ng tirahan ng halos 2.3 milyon katao at isang lumalalang hunger crisis. Binigyan din ni Blinken ang importansya ng pagwakas ng giyera ng Israel at Hamas sa Gaza, pati na rin ang ligtas na pag-uwi ng mga nabihag na magkabilang kampo. Sabi rin nito na dapat dagdagan pa ang pumapasok na pagkain, medisina at iba pang esensyal na kagamitan para sa mga sibilyang nasa Gaza. Dagdag pa nito na pagkatapos pala nitong mga hakbang na ito ay saka mapapayagan ng mga Palestino na makabangong muli at magkaroon ng desisyon ukol sa estado ng kanilang pamunuan, seguridad at muling pagtatayo ng kanilang infrastruktura.
So, right now, there is no other way to distribute aid in sufficient form, and that's why the Secretary made clear in the letter that we were opposed to the legislation because UNRWA plays a critical role. Now, there are other humanitarian organizations that operate inside Gaza that are delivering aid. There are other UN agencies that are operating inside Gaza, but we see UNRWA as continuing to play a critical role. And I should note while for very obvious reasons, the focus is on the work they do in Gaza. They play a critical role in the West Bank. They play a critical role in Lebanon. They play a critical role in other places throughout the region that we don't want to see end either.
Manatiling nakatutok, magbabalik po ang mata ng Agila International.
Nagbabalik kusina sa bagong season ng Lutong Gaza.
Kung na-miss nyo kami, mas na-miss namin kayo. Kaya naman naghanda talaga kami ng mga bagong recipes na for sure mapapawaw kayo.
Samahan pa natin ang mga mahilig kumain ng mga celebrity guests tulad ni Karim, Alex Darossi, Carly Martin, Christopher Rojas, Raisa Senon, Modern Nanay Con Cruz at marami pang iba.
Magkita-kita tayo sa kusina ng Lutong Gaza. All new recipes, all new episodes.
Tuwing Sabado, alas 11 ng umaga, dito lang sa NET25.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Pilipinas, isang bansang arkipelago na nahahati sa tatlong pangunahing pulo, Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Binubuo ng 7,641 islands na napaliligiran ng mga anyong tubig. Kinikilala sa likas nitong ganda, kamanghamanghang kultura at kaaya-ayang turismo. Nakahanda ng sumayad ang aming gulong, umaraw man o umulan, baon namin ng iisang layunin na makapaghatid ng bagong kwento habang nakasampa sa aming motorsiklo. Isasama namin kayo tuwing Sabado, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. This is Motorcycle Republic.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
This Sunday on Cine Throwback.
Zero must equal 100%.
The zero theorem is unprovable.
100%.
How did it all start?
You have any idea what the zero theorem is all about?
Everything adds up to nothing.
We always wanted to feel different, unique.
Why would you want to prove that all is for nothing?
This Sunday, 12 noon, here on NET25.
Let's net together sa NET25.
Sa kasulukuyang henerasyon, marami na ang nag-viral. Dahil po yan sa kanilang ginagawang pagtulong sa kapwa. Pero mas marami ang tumutulong kahit walang nakakakita. Kaya naman kung ikaw ay may kilala na grupo o individual na may natatanging pagresponde sa lipunan at maging sa kalikasan, mag-text lamang sa 0915-415-1035 o mag-email sa responde@net25.com at magpadala ng mensahe sa ating Facebook page at NET25 TV. Baka kayo na ang susunod nating Certified Key Responder.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Mga kaunaw, the long wait is over dahil 8 tawanan tayong ulit sa ating bagong season ng Lap Trip at Kulitan. May mga magbabalik sa pranksters na level up ang pang-play time. Papa P, next level na rin ang mga prank challenges.
Piliin sa mga boxes na yan kung nasaan ang hotdog.
siguradong happy ang buong family sa ating mga pranks at practical jokes na sobrang lupit sa kulit.
1, 2, 3, sip-sip. Ano kayo panlasa niya? Dahan natin.
So, what are you waiting for? 8 ba o 4? 8.
Trying to buy a new iPhone. You guys need extra money? I'll accept card reader too.
Wala pera.
Walang pera. Oh, here. QR code.
Join sa pagkikipagkulitan sa new season ng pinakamakulit at pinakamasayang prank show sa balat ng telebisyon. Kasama ang one and only prank master, Joey De Leon. That's me. Oh no, it's Bio. Bio only. Tuwing Sabado alas 8 ng gabi sa NET25.
Together, sa NET25. Sa NET25. Love, Johnny, Pat, and everything. Ang Pinoy lang ang diskarte, nang ibigay lahat. Love, Johnny, Pat, and everything. Basta para sa pamilya, laban lang. Love, Johnny, Pat, and everything. May solusyon ang problema, may pag-asa kaya yan. Love, Johnny, Pat, and everything. Mapagmahal ang Pinoy, tatakbo, lalakoy, lulundag, lilipad. Ang umaga, batiin natin. Love, Johnny, Pat, and everything. Ang umaga, batiin. Love, Johnny, Pat, and everything. Johnny, Pat, and everything. Ang umaga, batiin. Love, Johnny, Pat, and everything. Let's get together. Sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Hey everyone! Na-miss niyo ba kami?
Well, don't worry, kasi soon you will be seeing us live! You heard right, we are going live. That means you can interact more with us.
Yes, at hindi lang yon. Siyempre, may mga bagong aabangan din kayo galing sa amin.
Yup, new segments and new fun things to do. At syempre, mas lalong akong gaganda at mas lalong pupogi si Art.
Okay. Anyway, kaya please stay tuned sa Season 2 ng
Art Academy!
Sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Sa kada umaga, welcome ang lahat. Mula sa mga veteranong komedyante.
Ay, nandiyan ka pala eh! Ano ka ba?
Ano kakain ng Jomay? Mula nung dumating ka 342.
Pag may muta, direkta na. Hindi ko na aalis yung ganon.
Trending social media celebrity.
Maayong umaga sa inyong tanan.
At mga kilalang public servants.
Everybody needs to abide with the traffic rules and regulations.
Ang purpose doon, gusto ko, pag masaya yung tao, yun ang kaligayahan ko basta masaya. So kung napasaya ko yung isang tao, masaya na ako.
Come on, come all! Sa pinakamasayang kabanding tuwing umaga, kada umaga!
Let's get together. Sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Goodwill Season 4, tuwing linggo, 5 p.m. dito lang sa NET25.
Let's get together. Sa NET25. Sa NET25.
ASPN, Year 4 na! Patuloy nating samahan sina Ali Soto at Pat P. Daza sa paghahatid ng mga balitang puno ng impormasyon.
Ito daw si Alice Go ay talagang tanim ng China.
Malaki na po ang ibinaba ng national rating ni Vice President Sara Duterte.
Muli na namang gumamit ang China ng high-intensity laser laban po sa mga sasakyan ng Pilipinas.
Lunes hanggang Biyernes, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Dito lang sa NET25.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25. Magandang araw, magandang araw. Magandang araw, magandang araw. Magandang araw, magandang araw. Magandang araw, magandang araw. Any time of the day, it's super saya. Lalo na kung si Ara lagi mong kasama. Magandang araw, magandang araw. Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25. Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go! He's up and flying as he guns the car around the track. He's tearing down the pedal like he's never coming back. Adventure's waiting just ahead. Go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go!
Hi, I'm Art.
And I'm PJ.
Tara, samahan niyo kami.
Listen to our school's podcast.
At pag-usapan natin ang mga issues na mahalaga para sa ating mga teenagers.
Let's create art together in... Dito lang sa NET25.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Sunday lunchtime? Looking for classic movies?
They've turned on to Elm Street.
Get ready for action!
Start filming.
Every big eye, me. Drama.
We'll race here today.
And more family entertaining movies.
There's a storm in the way.
We came here to do a job.
And all of this for dogs?
Paddington? Sorry.
Relax and enjoy your weekend noontime. Every Sunday, 12 noon, on Cine Throwback, here on NET25.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa NET25.
Ang mga maiinit na balita
at rumaratsyad ang usapan ng bayan.
ihahatid namin sa 100%!
100% ang pagbabalita.
100% talakayan.
Lunes hanggang Biyernes.
Alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga.
Live na live sa Radyo Agila 1062 Mega Manila.
At sa NET25. 100%!
Sa NET25. Let's net together sa NET25.
America is ready for a fresh start.
I will rescue the American dream. Get out there and vote. Let's get this started. We're going to vote for a change. We're going to vote to take this country in a new direction.
Ibinida ni Donald Trump at Kamala Harris ang kanilang malinaw na tagumpay sa pagtatapos ng kanilang mga kampanya sa Pennsylvania at ibang swing states. Itong huli at tila araw ng pagbubuntong hininga ng di inaasahang dikit na laban sa halalan sa pagkapangulo ng Estados Unidos. Sa kasagsagan ng karera sa pagkapangulo, nagkaroon ng 2 tangkang pagpatay kay Republican candidate Donald Trump at ang biglaang pagtakbo ni Democratic candidate Kamala Harris matapos atras ni President Joe Biden ang re-election bid niya. Bagamat dikit ang resulta sa mga opinion polls, kapwa inaangkin ni Trump at Harris ang tagumpay sa gitna ng huling pagkampanya nila sa paghikayat ng mga botanteng hindi pa nakakaboto.
All right, so Pittsburgh, this is it. Tomorrow is Election Day. Tomorrow is Election Day. And the momentum is on our side. Our campaign has tapped into the ambitions, the aspirations, and the dreams of the American people. And we know it is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
Nagsagawa si Kamala Harris ng 5 campaign rally sa Pennsylvania na nagtapos sa isang rally kasama sina Lady Gaga, Oprah Winfrey at Katy Perry. Samantala, nagtungo naman si Donald Trump sa North Carolina at Michigan at ibinida ang mga isyong kinasangkutan ng Biden-Harris administration, katulad po ng border security at mga economic problems na idinulot nila sa bansa.
By the way, the Border Patrol 2 weeks ago gave us the strongest endorsement you've ever heard. They said he's the greatest president in history and the best president on the border by a factor of 10. And I said to them, does that mean I'm better than Abraham Lincoln and George? What? Yes, sir, you're better than both of them. Assuming we can win tomorrow, which I think we should be able to do pretty easily. It's in our hands, right? It's in our hands. It's totally in our hands. Oh, it's today. Oh, it's today. Oh.
Sa kabila nito, ngayong araw mismo, nakatakda na malaman ng mga Amerikano kung sino ang kanilang magiging bagong presidente. Pumunta naman po tayo sa Virginia at alamin natin mula kay NET25 correspondent Bernadette Raguini kung kamusta ang poll situation doon. Maging sa kalapit estado nitong North Carolina na isa ring battleground state ngayong eleksyon. Panoorin po natin to.
It's election day today, and here in Virginia, polls open at 6 a.m. and will close 7 p.m. With early voting starting 45 days ago, Virginia Public Access Project reports that as of November 3, 2,293,043 early votes have already been cast. With registered voters here in Virginia at over 5.8 million, more than 3 million voters are expected to cast their ballots today. The state for the past 4 elections have voted Democrat. It has, in the last 20 years, voted for the winning presidential candidate 83% of the time. The last Republican to win the state's 13 electoral votes was George W. Bush in 2004. Virginia today, however, is considered a moderately blue state. Meanwhile, neighboring battleground state North Carolina is also ready for today's surge of voters. This year, this swing state breaks early voting record with 4.2 million already casting ballots. That's more than half of North Carolina's registered voters. This number also exceeds early in-person voting in 2020, bringing election officials pride for the state's participation this year. In the past, North Carolina has elected 3 Republican presidential candidates since 2012. Barack Obama in 2008 was its last Democrat pick. Republican candidate Donald Trump and his running mate have been reported to be celebrating their lead in early voting turnout. This, despite the number of registered Democrats statewide are 109,000 more than Republicans. Election board data say 50,000 more Republican voters than Democrats had cast their ballots early. Election officials there say early voter turnout in Helene-struck counties are way more compared to those in 2020. Again, something the state is proud of, saying this proves resilience in residents. Bernadette Regini, Virginia Beach, Virginia, for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Samantala, sa kabila ng pag-aalala ng mga botante dahil sa mga kaganapan kaugnay ng eleksyon, umaasa silang babangong nagkakaisang Estados Unidos sino man ang kandidatong mananalo bilang Pangulo ng US. Mula sa Los Angeles, narito si Eva Basayahe.
With their ballots cast, voters recognize that their part is over. They reflect on the sometimes turbulent political road that led them to this general election.
Now that all the voting is done, I really hope that the candidates who have our best interest in mind are the ones that get elected. There are a lot of candidates out there that I feel like I did not deserve my vote, and I'm looking forward to seeing that the best candidates out there actually get elected.
I don't necessarily vote for the party, I vote for the person. So as this time as in the past, I voted for the person who I thought was best for the job. For people who just take it for granted that their state is either red or blue, thinking that's going to be the overwhelming vote count, they could be mistaken. So it's better to jump in that ballot box and put down that X.
People that I know that are 100, they can't get here, but they're going to send in that ballot. Their family members are going to make sure that their voice is heard.
Well, I was very happy that I was able to come and vote.
We listen to the other side, whether it's by the internet or channels, just to see the way that they think, the way that they talk. And some of them are just way out of bounds. When you just go too far in one direction, it's just not good, and you just got to have some common ground.
For some, finding a political common ground may be hard to come by. But one position that a number of voters shared was their readiness for this election to close.
I'm so glad on Wednesday we can wake up, there's no more commercials. It's just like every 5 minutes it's a commercial. I'm anxious to see where we go. Like, where does this land? Either way, like and because then we can make a plan for what we do on Wednesday, right? When we wake up. Or Thursday. Never decided.
Voter fatigue was cited by some who said that they're ready for all the political attack ads to be over and that they look forward for elected officials to make good on the promises they made on the campaign trail. Reporting from Los Angeles, California at the Michelle and Barack Obama Sports Complex, Eva Basayahe from Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Sa iba pa mga balita, patay ang 14 na katao matapos bumagsak ang bubong ng istasyon ng tren sa Serbia. Kabilang sa mga nasawi ay isang 6 na taong gulang na bata habang nasa kritikal na kalagayan naman ang 3 nakaligtas. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, gumuho ang bahagi ng bubong sa entrance ng istasyon ng tren. Ang bahagi ng gusaling ito ay nagsilbing waiting shed sa mga naghihintay na pasahero. Rumisponde naman ang higit sa 80 rescue personnel para tumulong sa clearing operation sa lugar. Nagpaabot na ng pakikiramay si Serbian Prime Minister Miloš Vučević sa pamilya ng mga nasawi. Sa isang pahayag na inilabas ng Serbia Railways, sinabi ng kumpanyang bumagsak ang bubong dahil matagal na itong hindi nakukumpuni ng istasyon. Bumitaw na sa pwesto si Serbian Construction Minister Goran Vesic dahil sa insidente.
Pinagbabato ng mga galit na nagpoprotesta si King Felipe at Queen Letizia. Ito ay matapos silang bumisita sa Paiporta, Spain. Lumilipad na putik, yan ang sumalubong sa 2 mula sa galit ng mga tao na namatayan mula sa pagbaha. Kasunod nito ay sinabi ng hari na naiintindihan niya ang nararamdaman ng mga nawala ng mahal sa buhay. Umabot naman sa 217 ang nasawi habang patuloy namang pinaghahanap pa ang ilang mga tao na nawawala. Makikita sa lugar ang ilang mga sasakyan na tinangay ng baha, pati na rin ang mga kalsada na binalot ng makapal na putik. Samantala, una nang idineklara ng gobyerno ng Spain ang 3 araw na pakikiramay para sa mga taong nasawi sa kalamidad.
Inilikas ngayon ang nasa 16,000 mga residente. Ito po ay matapos pumutok ang bulkang Lewotjobe Laki-Laki sa Indonesia. Ayon sa mga otoridad ay 10 na ang naiulat na nasawi habang nasa 63 naman ang sugatan sa naging pagsabog. Nasira rin ang nasa 2,384 na mga kabahayan. Kasama pa rito ang 25 mga paaralan. Pahirapan naman ang naging paglikas dahil sa makapal na volcanic ash na naipon sa mga kalsada. Bukod po dito ay aabot sa 2,472 mga residente na ang nailikas mula sa 8 bayan. Samantala, nagdeklara naman ang gobyerno ng state emergency para sa lugar na tatagal hanggang sa susunod na 58 araw.
Itinampok ng Central Bank of Argentina ang kanilang Bitcoin miners sa isang exhibition sa Hector Carlos Janson Historical and Numismatic Museum. Pinamagatan ang exhibition na Art, Artificial Intelligence and the Future of the Economy. Layo ng exhibition ay pamalas kung paano isinasagawa ang Bitcoin mining. Makikita sa video ang isang halimbawa ng Bitcoin mining rigs. Kasama rin sa display sa museo ang iconic na money balls sa disenyo ni artist at financier Alberto Echagaray. Si Echagaray ay isa sa mga pioneer ng digital at crypto arts kung saan ay pinapakita ang kahalagahan ng integrasyon ng crypto mining sa banking.
Tatanggap ng 38% na pay hike o pagtaas ng sahod ang mga empleyado ng Boeing sa Estados Unidos. Ayon sa International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers Union, 59% ng kanilang mga miyembro ang bumoto ng pabor para sa bagong kontrata nila sa Boeing. Isa sa stipulations ng kontrata ay ang 38% pay hike na i-spread over sa loob ng 4 na taon at kabilang din ito ang 4% bonus at minimum annual payout. Katumbas ito ng halos 40% pay increase na hinihiling ng mga empleyado sa kanilang kumpanya. Ititigil na rin ng union ang kanilang walkouts at strikes at tumagal ang halos 7 linggo na siyang nagpatigil halos sa operations ng Boeing jets. Sinabi pa ng union members na masaya na sila at handa na rin bumalik sa kani-kanila mga trabaho sa Miyerkules o hanggang sa November 13.
Matagumpay na naipadala ng Japan ang pinakaunang wooden satellite nito sa kalawakan. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, pinalipad ito mula sa SpaceX Launch Center kung saan ay isasabay ito patungo sa International Space Station. Ang wooden satellite ay kilala sa tawag na LignoSat kung saan ay gagamitin ito para sa mga susunod na lunar at Mars exploration. Nabuo ang LignoSat sa kolaborasyon ng Kyoto University at Sumitomo Forestry. Ayon sa mga researchers, gawa ang naturang satellite sa Honoki, isang magnolia tree na likas na tumutubo sa Japan. Ang Honoki ang tradisyonal na ginagamit ng mga Hapon bilang sword sheath kung saan ay napag-alaman ay angkop ding gamitin sa mga spacecraft.
Sa kaugnay na balita, nagpadala naman ng 12 ng satellites ang Russia patungo sa outer space. Ayon sa Russian Space Agency Roscosmos, ginamit ang Soyuz 2.1 spacecraft para dalhin sa low Earth orbit ang 53 maliliit na satellites. Kasama po dito ang 2 ring satellite mula sa Iran. Layo ng mga satellites na ito na magsagawa ng monitoring sa space system ng Earth, partikular na sa ionosphere. Ang ionosphere ay bahagi ng ating mundo kung saan ay nasa halos 50 up to 400 miles above Earth's surface. Kaya rin ng mga satellites sa magpadala ng high-resolution image mula sa kalawakan. Ilan sa kayang iscan ng mga satellites na ito ay ang topography ng Iran. At syempre, abangan po natin ang karagdagang mga balita sa ating live coverage ng nagaganap na US elections. Of course, sa NET25 World News, napasunod na po. At tandaan, mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, narito kami para maghatid ng balita. Saan mang dako ng mundo, muli ako po si Ricky Matay.
Manatiling nakatutok, ako si Nina Richie Alagaw Flores. Ito pa rin ang mata ng Agila International. Para sa mga balitang nangyari sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina Enrique. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines, the final push on the eve of Election Day, the polls opening in this historic race for the White House.
Like the most important issue is fixing our economy. I didn't grow up with much, like single parent household.
Definitely utilities, for sure. The electric bill has been substantially higher.
I think that the other countries kind of look at us a little weaker than they did at previous terms.
And I recently had the privilege of speaking with Dean Jemay Gatdula, one of the Philippines' leading experts in international law. Now, Mr. Gatdula shared his insights on how the upcoming U.S. presidential election might impact U.S.-Philippine relations and foreign relations. And the news starts now. And it's Election Day in the U.S., and millions of Americans are expected to cast a ballot in probably the country's most divisive and contentious presidential election. The contrast between the two candidates, Democrat Kamala Harris and former President and Republican candidate Donald Trump, could not be any greater.
If this campaign had come out of the creative minds of Hollywood scriptwriters, people would say this is unbelievable. It's just not real. Some of the head-spinning twists, 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump, and his felony conviction in a New York courtroom. And then there's Vice President Kamala Harris, who became a last-minute entry in the race. She began carrying the Democratic banner after President Joe Biden dropped out following a disastrous debate performance against Trump. Harris, in a short time, managed to raise hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign contributions, and she's become a formidable opponent to Trump, who, up until her entry, had been favored to win. The race is now tied. Too close to call. It's been a campaign of contrasts. Harris portrays herself as a candidate of change, exuding optimism. She talks about a more inclusive government.
Unlike Donald Trump, I don't believe that people who disagree with me are the enemy. He wants to put them in jail. I will give them a seat at the table. That's what real leadership looks like. That's what strong leadership looks like.
Trump has a dark view of America. He talks about his grievances, seeking retribution on his opponents, repeating false claims about the 2020 election, which he lost, and blaming immigrants for the country's problems.
We're a dumping ground. We're like a garbage can for the world. That's what's happened. That's what's happened to we're like a garbage can. You know, it's the first time I've ever said that. And every time I come up and talk about what they've done to our country, I get angrier and angrier. First time I've ever said garbage can, but you know what? It's a very accurate description.
The campaign has attracted a lot of interest. A record number of Americans have already voted either in advance polls or by mail, nearly 62 million of them. And millions more will be lined up like this today, exercising the right to choose their country's next leader. Despite the interest, many voters say they just want it done. The campaign has gone on for too long. Here's a sampling of their opinions from the streets of Las Vegas.
Honestly, I'm ready for it to be over with. I'm hoping that people can accept what happens and move on, and that everything just blows over and the next 4 years come to pass.
This 2-year campaign business is tearing us up, and I'm really very interested in it, and I'm a voter, but I live in a state where you can vote by mail, and I came here so I would not have to listen to any of it.
I'm ready. I'm just ready to see what's going to happen. Like I said, I just want somebody to be good to America. It's a good country.
I'm praying for a peaceful election. My fear is that it might get a little wild and out of control. I'm just praying for a peaceful election, and whoever is meant to win, I hope they win.
It's kind of scary. A lot of people say they're scared of what's going to happen after this election. I just know that no matter who gets in, it's going to be the same old.
And that fear that some of those folks talked about is shared by many. Security has been stepped up around polling places and the venues where votes are counted. Steps are being taken to keep election workers safe. As people go to vote for the candidate of their choice, it comes with a high price. Elections, at least in the United States, are not cheap. This campaign has been expensive. Since early March, the two parties have spent $2.6 billion on political advertising. Harris has outspent Trump by more than $500 million. And most of that money has gone to convince people in the 7 swing states on who to vote for. We'll find out soon whether those advertising investments have paid off. There's a good chance we won't know for a few days who the next president will be, unless there's a sudden shift that gives one of the candidates a big win. The results are expected to be close, with razor-thin margins for the winner. Thomas I. Likeness, NET25 World News.
Thomas I. Likeness joins us now. Thomas, you mentioned in your report it could be several days before the results of the election are known. Why is that?
Good evening, Alma. The biggest reason for the delay is the millions of people who voted by mail. There could be 82 million of them, at least that's how many mail-in ballots had been requested. Now, each state has its own rules on how to handle these ballots. For example, in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, election workers are not allowed to process these ballots until 7 o'clock in the morning on Election Day. So they've just started now. And you can imagine that's a huge task, and it's not going to be completed in one day. Now, some other states allow early processing of the ballots, which means the counting can begin quickly. Another reason for delayed results? Narrow victories. These can trigger recounts, and recounts take time. And then there are legal challenges. The Republicans have already filed more than 100 pre-election lawsuits, including challenges to voter eligibility and how voting lists are managed. So, when I'm back here tomorrow, I'm not sure I'll be able to tell you just who the next president is, unless, of course, one of the candidates registers a big win in the so-called swing states. And what are chances of that happening? Well, let's go back to Thomas's first rule of politics. Anything can happen, and probably will. But as I sit here tonight, this election is just too close to call, so I think we're going to be in for a long evening.
You also talked about security risks in your report. What measures are being taken to keep everyone safe?
Sadly, Alma, this has become a major issue. In Philadelphia, District Attorney Larry Krasner has warned that any attempt to bully voters or cause problems at polling places is going to be dealt with severely. Krasner told people now is not the time to be playing militia. He says police will be arresting anyone who insults, derides, mistreats, or threatens people who are trying to vote, or if they're harassing election workers. Basically, what he's saying is play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Elsewhere in the country, at least 3 states have the National Guard on standby to maintain the peace. Protecting election workers is also a top priority. In some states, security fences have been put up around vote counting hubs. Police are on high alert for threats and violence. In parts of Arizona, drones are being used to monitor activity around polling places, and snipers and other reinforcements will be on standby for deployment if violence appears likely. In Arizona, several schools and churches that once served as voting centers in the past, well, they're not going to be serving as polling stations this year because of the fear of trouble. In the U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C., a 3-meter fence has been erected in front of the White House, as well as around the official residence of Vice President Harris. And some businesses downtown have boarded up doors and windows in anticipation of mayhem. It's a sign of a deeply divided country where half the population has no faith in the country's democratic institutions. And there are no signs that those divisions will heal soon. Elma?
Thank you, Thomas. We'll be monitoring closely. And I recently had the privilege of speaking with Dean Jemai Gatdula, one of the Philippines' leading experts in international law and foreign relations. He's the Dean of the Institute of Law at the University of Asia and the Pacific and a Senior Fellow of the Philippine Council for Foreign Relations. As the former head of PricewaterhouseCoopers World Trade Management Services for both Philippines and Indonesia, he has advised multinational corporations, international organizations and governments, including ASEAN, WTO, and OECD. And currently a Senior Fellow of the Philippine Council for Foreign Relations, Dean Gatdula has been a trusted voice on matters of international law. Now, Mr. Gatdula shared his insights on how the upcoming U.S. presidential election might impact U.S.-Philippine relations. In our discussion, we explored implications for defense, treaties, security partnerships, and the delicate balance of Philippines' relations with both the U.S. and China. Here's my conversation with Dean Gatdula. All right. Sir Jemai, welcome to the program. I'll start with my question. How might a Trump or Harris administration approach the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty and associated military exercises operations? Do you think there will be potential changes to U.S. security assistance, counterterrorism support, or maritime domain awareness efforts in the Philippines?
Well, I like to think that there could be more aggressive changes, particularly with the Trump White House. There has been a declared pivot to Asia during the Obama years, which unfortunately has not been really fulfilled much, even during at the time pa lang ni Obama. Biden, of course, has not been very, how should I put it, conscious of the needs of the area during his presidency. But I think with a Trump presidency, there is a more conscious awareness of the risk and dangers of a dominant China in the region. And so it is more possible that we could have a more perhaps aggressive, perhaps more overt assertion of U.S. military presence if, for example, Trump does win the White House this week.
What about a Harris presidency?
Well, then we'll probably be looking at more of the same as what we've seen from the Biden years. I think there is a more greater tendency for the administration to try to be more conciliatory to China, which I believe is a bit of a mistake. And also because of the fact that the policy that the Harris administration will probably do is to continue the Biden administration's policy of engaging more with the Ukraine-Russia conflict. And that would probably drain, if not over clearly your resources, but also the focus and the focus and the concentration of the Americans away from this area. I think what I've seen, that I've heard, that I like with regard to the Trump pronouncements is that they were willing to try to put an end, a peaceful end to the Russia-Ukraine dispute. And by doing so, it will allow the administration, the American government, to put its focus elsewhere, and hopefully that would be in Asia, where I think the American presence is sorely needed.
What about potential changes to U.S. assistance, counterterrorism support, maritime domain awareness efforts in the Philippines?
Well, I think we have a very good idea of the changes that could happen, assuming that Trump wins, because we already had an experience with the first Trump administration. And so it has been always touted, the fact that Trump always wants to make a good deal. So, and famously, Trump got along with President Duterte.
Yes.
And I don't see any reason why President Trump will not get along with the President Marcos. I think the President our present administration is quite more consistent in its relations with the U.S., and it's something that I think President Trump will appreciate. There are comments made to the effect that Trump, being a negotiator at heart, being a businessman at heart, may probably come to a deal with China that will, in the end, be hurtful, perhaps for the Philippines. But I don't see that happening. I think there are certain underlying values that still bind the Philippines and the Americans together. And Trump, despite all of that, I think will be looking to his legacy. This will be obviously his last period to be in office, and he will be very conscious of the effect that he will have on history. And right now, whether we like it or not, the Philippines is in a quite historic position at this time in world history.
And implications for the Philippines balancing act between the U.S. and China on a Harris and Trump presidency?
Again, I mean, I don't want to put all the benefits that I'm saying right now towards Trump. But
yes.
it arises from a certain belief of mine that in order for us to have a very good balancing act with China, as you put it, it requires a certain strength on the part of the Philippines. I think in all the observations I've had and study that I've made with regard to China, it is not the rule of law. It is not the exercise of diplomacy. It is not the exercise of showing respect or deference to China that gets their attention. It is the ability of our government to be able to exercise strength and also to be able to demonstrate that if need be, we will fight for our rights. That, I think, is what will gain the respect of China. And for us to be able to come to a good balancing act between China and the U.S., what is needed is a very consistent, very declared foreign policy that is hinging on our values as a nation. And I repeat that. I mean, people have been quite overly pragmatic in the way they formulate their foreign policy calculations. But deep down, I think it all also will boil down to the values of our country. The moment that we adhere consistently to our democratic Republican values, yes, it will in a way serve as a good our relationship with the U.S. Now, with regard to the commercial aspects of foreign policy, of course, I do accept that there is such a thing, but ultimately, that commercial aspect will also be hinging on how strong we are in advancing our values. So this is not merely an economic cost-benefit analysis of which some other people think foreign policy is, but it really goes far beyond that. So if we are very clear in what our established purpose is, then everything follows from there. And I think it's very clear what our established purpose is, and that's found in the Constitution. So as long as we meet the goals of what the Constitution states, and if we are of the belief that the Constitution embodies our aspirations and ideals, the rest follows that from there. The problem of not having a very defined compass, of being too practical now or being too pragmatic, is that we become mercenarial. And the Chinese obviously would know that. And that is why we are in a mess right now, because I think that was in a way, the certain thrust of the foreign policy a few years ago.
Now, talking about policies, let's talk about economic policies. Are there concerns about U.S. economic policies such as trade or investment changing depending on who wins the election?
Well, that's one area now we should be a little bit more watchful about, because of the fact that the Trump-Vance tandem has been planning to cut down back on trade, and also with regard to the idea of bringing a lot of the business back to the U.S. Now, obviously, if you're American, that is something you want to hear. That is something you also want to hear if our president says that. So it's something I cannot, how should I put it, take against the Americans if they do decide to do that, because I would like to hear my own president say those same things, to be able to protect our own manufacturing, our own agriculture, our own workers. And so we'll just have to be able to make our business environment incredibly more attractive. Now, there is a very good and strong motivation for us to decouple economically from China, and there is a good security need for, and which even Taiwan admits is there, for companies to or countries to be able to also serve as a good alternative to Taiwan, particularly with regard to electronics and semiconductors and so on. And so it is up to us now to make our business environment attractive for all those countries that would seek to decouple from China and to present itself as viable alternatives to Taiwan. Unfortunately, so far, Vietnam, I think, has been overtaking us or outpacing us in this regard. But there's no reason why we can't turn around and do a better job at it.
So now, when it comes to U.S.-led alliances, how could this election outcome influence these alliances, this U.S.-led alliance, such as the Quad, U.S. partnerships with ASEAN here in Asia?
Well, it's really hard to say. With the Harris administration, I think it's going to be a little bit more on the same track that we have seen with regard to the Biden administration. People have been lauding the Biden administration for a more nuanced foreign policy. The thing is that it's too nuanced that even I cannot understand what it is. But because I look at it purely from the Philippine viewpoint.
Yes.
And so for me, even if, for example, it might benefit Europe, the alliances that you're talking about that the US may want to engage in. But in the end, ultimately for me, how does it help the Philippines? If, for example, a Trump administration decides to de-emphasize NATO and emphasize the fact that NATO countries should do more in defending Europe rather than rely on the US, for me, okay, fine. Because it will allow more U.S. resources and more U.S. attention to be placed into our area of the world. So while it may not something be positive that you could read, for example, in most of the newspapers that you will see, that Trump now will be a little bit more unstable in other areas of the world, let's say Middle East or Europe. For me, okay, fine, doesn't really matter. What I'm concerned about is how the Americans will be helping us here in the Philippines in being able for us to protect ourselves against China.
What do you want to leave the audience regarding implications of the U.S. election for our country?
Ultimately, it would be good to have a president that is there that, well, there's really no perfect politician. We know that.
Yes.
But there's also an American politician who once said, and it was Franklin Roosevelt, and he was talking about another national leader, another world leader. And in essence, his message was, now he may be a bastard, but at least he's our bastard. And that's what I'd like to think about other foreign leaders as far as the Philippines is concerned. There may be other countries out there, other national leaders that we find distasteful or obnoxious or irritating, but at least he's ours. And at least that leader is someone that we can rely on. But ultimately, having used the word rely, we'll just have to play whoever the U.S. president is that happens to be elected in this week. Because in the end, it will just have to be the Filipinos that have to rely on themselves. If we will place our hopes on another country, that's not the national way of going about things. We need to be able to establish our own military defenses. We need to be able to strengthen our own military capabilities. We have a country that essentially is incredibly young. We have a country that's almost, 23-25% average years old, average age, which is a far more superior position than you can see in China, which is around 35 plus, or even in the US, 33 plus years of age. So we have, in terms of the economy, in terms of national security, in terms of vibrancy of a country, our country is far more better positioned in the coming years than many other countries that are out there. So we should stop looking at them and try and not rely on them. If they give help, great. If they don't give help, that's okay, because we can do it on our own. And I think that's the mentality. I mean, perhaps there might be situations na we cannot do it on our own, but yung nasabi nila, fake it till you make it. And besides, why will another country decide to help us if we ourselves do not believe in ourselves? Diba? It's like helping another person na in the end, wawalgas din naman niya, because that country itself does not believe in its own ability to move forward. So, you're asking for final words for our countrymen, and my words are essentially, okay, let's see what happens as far as the U.S. is concerned, but ultimately it's their country. As far as we are concerned, we work for our country and we do what's best for us.
Thank you very much, sir, for your insights. It's clear that the outcome of the U.S. election will ripple far beyond American borders, shaping U.S.-Philippine relations, impacting the delicate balance between China, the U.S., and Asia, and influencing the region's economic and, of course, security landscape. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much for your insights.
Yes, thank you, Alma. It's a pleasure.
And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back.
Abangan niyo po kami tuwing Sabado at Linggo 8 to 9 a.m. Dito lang yan sa NET25. Ito ang tahanan. Ako po si Ate Sherilyn.
Election-weary voters remain hopeful that the country will emerge unified regardless of which candidate is appointed to the highest position in the nation. In Los Angeles, California, Eva Basilyahe with a story.
With their ballots cast, voters recognize that their part is over. They reflect on the sometimes turbulent political road that led them to this general election.
Now that all the voting is done, I really hope that the candidates who have our best interests in mind are the ones that get elected. There are a lot of candidates out there that I feel like I did not deserve my vote. And I'm looking forward to seeing that the best candidates out there actually get elected.
I don't necessarily vote for the party, I vote for the person. So as this time, as in the past, I voted for the person who I thought was best for the job. For people who just take it for granted that their state is either red or blue, thinking that's going to be the overwhelming vote count, they could be mistaken. So it's better to jump in that ballot box and put down that X.
People that I know that are 100, they can't get here, but they're going to send in that ballot. Their family members are going to make sure that their voice is heard.
Well, I was very happy that I was able to come and vote.
We listen to the other side, whether it's by the internet or channels, just to see the way that they think, the way that they talk. And some of them are just way out of bounds. When you just go too far in one direction, it's just not good, and you just got to have some common ground.
For some, finding a political common ground may be hard to come by. But one position that a number of voters shared was their readiness for this election to close.
I'm so glad on Wednesday we can wake up, there's no more commercials. It's just like every 5 minutes it's a commercial. I'm anxious to see where we go. Like, where does this land? Either way, like and because then we can make a plan for what we do on Wednesday, right? When we wake up. So, or Thursday, whenever decided.
Voter fatigue was cited by some who said that they're ready for all the political attack ads to be over and that they look forward for elected officials to make good on the promises they made on the campaign trail. Reporting from Los Angeles, California at the Michelle and Barack Obama Sports Complex, Eva Basilyahe from Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
And it's a dramatic final push before Election Day. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign brought out an impressive array of celebrity firepower across key battleground states, with stars from music, television, and entertainment joining forces to mobilize voters. The day's most powerful moment came in Philadelphia, where media icon Oprah Winfrey embraced Harris on stage in an emotional show of support.
Everyone and everything you cherish is vote. And if you are watching or hearing me right now and you haven't already, you have got to vote.
The Philadelphia rally transformed into a star-studded concert featuring performances by Lady Gaga, Ricky Martin, and will.i.am. Earlier in Pittsburgh, pop star Katy Perry took the stage, sharing her personal connection to Harris. In a particularly pointed moment in Allentown, rapper Fat Joe made an emotional appeal to Latino voters, especially addressing undecided Puerto Ricans in Pennsylvania.
No joke. The other day in Madison Square Garden, that was no joke, ladies and gentlemen. That was no joke. And it was filled with so much hate. Hatred of Jewish people, hatred of black people, carving watermelons, calling Puerto Rico an island of garbage. My Latinos, where is your pride?
The campaign's final day concluded in Las Vegas, where Christina Aguilera performed her hit Fighter at a Harris Waltz rally, followed by a performance by legendary Mexican band Los Tigres del Norte, underscoring the campaign's outreach to Latino voters. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Good night.